I wanted to just take a quick moment. Thank you. I was just going to say, make sure we hit record. I want to take a quick moment to just introduce myself because some of you I have not met, some of you have only met virtually over the last few months or years. And I look forward to one of our future meetings when we are in person and connected with one another. But I'm Brandon Jones. I'm the executive director at MACMA, Minnesota Association for Children's Mental Health. I've been in that role now since 2021. Prior to that, I've done a lot of community-based work in the space of mental health. I worked for North Point Health and Wellness Center. I've worked for Kente Circle, the city of Minneapolis. Most of my work has been around trauma, young people, and mental health. But I'm looking forward to leading this collaborative effort and taking us forward as much as possible in the work that we're doing and doing that in a collaborative manner to the best of my ability. So I thank you all for putting me in this position, and I hope that I'm able to lead as effectively as you believed in me to do so. So with that, yep, she's loud. All right, with that, I see we have a lot of new folks who just jumped in. If you don't mind just throwing your name and your organization in the chat so we just know who's here, that'd be great. And we're gonna get started. She's rocking the fro today for sure. All right, so we do again, like I said, we have new faces and newer people in new spaces. If we can go around really quick, we do have a full agenda. We're gonna have a nice panel conversation today. If people can just let us know who they are and who they're with verbally, that'd be good. And we will popcorn through. I'll do my best to keep track of folks. I'm gonna start with you, Assad, because you're right next to me, and then you can pick whomever you like. Go for it.
Myself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Asada here, Behavioral Health with Hennepin County. I'm excited to be here today and just to do a little bit of a presentation for you all. I'm gonna popcorn it over to Fatima.
Sorry about that. I couldn't get my mouse to cooperate. Good afternoon, all. I'm Fatima. Sir, oh, my camera's not on either. Serving as the System of Care Family Coordinator. So good to see those that are here today. And I'm going to pass it over to Linda.
If Linda's
I
not ready, I can go ahead.
was just going to say, I see her mic is on, but we're just not able to hear you, Linda.
Oh, good
Oh, there you go.
afternoon. Hi, my name is Linda Herrera. I'm community health worker at the Hennepin County Mental Health Center.
Let's do Laura and then we'll do Corey next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura McLuhan. I am the Director of Student Supports with Intermediate District 287.
Hello, everyone. I'm Corey Bird. I'm the Senior Director of Change Inc.'s Community Solutions Programs.
All right. Can we do Portia then Erica?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Portia. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm the PCLG coordinator. And I will pass to Andrea.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrea Daniel. I am the Administrative Manager Plus program, and I'm also one of the coordinators for the Family Service Collaboratives. Who hasn't gone yet that we need to call on?
We can go Tamika Kalia.
Good afternoon. Sorry, my camera is not working. I'm trying to get it fixed. I am the program supervisor for the FRSS Family Response and Stabilization Program.
Kalia, are you there? Or we can go Ashley. I see Ashley's camera just popped on. Ashley, you can go next.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's actually Kyla.
Oh, sorry.
No worries, no worries. I'm an instructor for the Latino Youth Development Collaborative nonprofit.
You can go Ashley, then Amy.
Good
afternoon, and I popped on late here, so I'm guessing this is just a general introduction. I'm Ashley Johnson with Hennepin County Public Health, and I'm the interim family health area manager.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashley. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Brandon.
Hello, hopefully you can hear me. This is Amy, and I am a parent member of the PCLG.
Thank you. We have we go Molly, then Krista.
Hi, everyone. My name is Molly Malone, and I am representing the Eden Prairie Family Services Collaborative.
Hi, everyone. Krista Phillips with the Edina Family Services Collaborative.
All right. We'll go Sasha, then let's see, then Rachel. All right, we'll wait for them. Rachel, do you want to hop in?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Rachel Harris with Northwest Family Resource Collaborative.
Okay, I don't think that their mic's working. All right, the next people I have is Samira, then Corey.
Hi everyone, my name is Samira. I am through Family Respondent Stabilization. I'm a supervisor with Summit Guidance.
Hi, I'm Corey again.
Oh, you
Corey
already
Bird.
You already
Okay, all right.
People are shuffling around. So I think it's Breeza Morales. All right, did I get it right? Perfect.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Brisa Morales, and I'm here representing LYDC, Latino Youth Development Collaborative.
Then I have Donovan. Then I think it's pronounced Mahadi. Did I get it right? Okay.
Good afternoon. This is Donovan. I work with Little Earth Residents Association, also known as Celera. We're here in the East Phillips neighborhood of Minneapolis.
Hello, my name is Mahdi Warsame. I am the CEO of Somali Parents Autism Network, a nonprofit organization serving children and families with children diagnosed with autism and developmental disabilities. We are a community partner with HCCM MHC. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Hey, Yolanda, greetings. You're up next. And then Monica.
Hey, greetings and good afternoon. My name is Ayolanda. I'm the co-founder and director of Embodied Instruction and parent coach with Black Family Blueprint.
Good afternoon, Monica Long, Hennepin County Community Corrections.
Right. There were a few people that came in towards the end. Who did I miss? I think, let's see, some people on the phones. Beth, are you ready to go? And trade. Yep.
Good day, Beth Lavery, family peer at NAMI, Minnesota.
Perfect. Thank you, Beth. All right. Let's see. Who has not gone? We'll open your mic and we'll catch up there. I said Sarah Washington. Uh-oh.
Miss Washington, Sarah Washington.
You changed up on me.
Did you forgot about me? No. My name is Miss Sarah Washington. I'm a parent student advocate, and I'm also on PCLG, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm really excited to hear Assad and his little presentation.
All right. There are a few folks missing. If you're available to speak, some people may not be able to. That's why we threw things in the chat. Feel free to open your mic and share now, and then we'll transition into our panel presentation here in a moment.
I haven't gone yet.
Go for it.
Cheryl Holm-Hansen, She, Hers, Community Research Solutions. I provide evaluation support to the Mental Health Collaborative and serve on the coordination team. And then I also have the honor of working with Assad, a system of care evaluation. So looking forward to hearing that presentation today too. Thanks.
Triasia, do you want to go? You haven't introduced yourself yet.
Yes, I'm sorry I was running late. Sorry about my voice going in and out. Asia PCLG. Again, I'm sorry for being late. Was coming from another meeting.
And I'm Laura LaCroix DeLune, and I help coordinate the collaborative. I think that's, oh, we have, is it Jazzy on the phone? Did I say that right? And then I think we have everybody.
I think that's most people.
Oh,
I'll speak. Mujasi is the other co-founder of Black Family Blueprint. Might not be able to get to the microphone right now, but we're both representing Black Family Blueprint this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I want to make sure we get all the voices that we can in and not skip over anyone. So if anyone else would like to hop in, feel free now. And if not, Assad, hope you're ready to rock and roll here in a moment. All right. All right. Well, thank you all for taking time and doing that. I think it is important for us to hear each other. Even if we're not in physical space, virtual space, it is good to hear voices. So, all right, well, we'll get going then. Assad, feel free to take it away. Do you need screen sharing ability? You got it. Perfect. Let's go.
Muted. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Assad Dahir. I'm a program manager in behavioral health with Hennepin County. I oversee and support the work of family response and stabilization services, along with our system of care transformational strategies. I am really excited and honored to be here with you this afternoon, along with my partners here, Corey Bird, Samira Adam, and then Tamika Black, who all represent the community partnership that we have in this line of service. Before I jump into the actual program itself and what it does or the service, I like to kind of give you the purpose of why. A lot of times we kind of jump right into the program itself and we don't take an opportunity to kind of highlight what was the purpose and what was the goal and objective why we started this program. If you can, and this was done in partnership with the collaborative here in their journey mapping, along with Hennepin County Behavioral Health Community Engagement, the amazing work that Jocelyn McWhorter supports and oversees. And some of those data were really critical and pivotal in standing up additional layer of support for families. And when I kind of look at that data sometimes is overwhelming, but there are times when it's so vivid and stark that I don't even need to kind of put it into the presentation. It just stays on because of how critical those three data pieces were. One is, think back in 2021, right? We're in the midst of a pandemic. And when we connected with families, over the families we connected with, over 90% of families said in a moment of behavioral concern and urgency, we don't really know what to do. And families are not using crisis because when you think of crisis, usually it's some predetermined criteria from a professional clinical lens. So families are saying, when I'm not able to manage things behaviorally, emotionally for my child, I don't know where to turn. And when we look back, we know where families were turning to. Families were going to the ER, sitting for 7+ hours in a ER, waiting area, only to be told your child does not meet criteria for admission. We're going to politely ask you to go home. And then families who left their children there because they are unable to manage, now their children are boarding in the ER. And I know stories in the news that kids were in the ambulance bay because there wasn't a space for them. But the hospital ambulance bay is not the right space for kids. And then the other access point families were, relying on because of the quick response attached to were law enforcement to come in and intervene in emotionally charged and escalated child, especially when that child is a from the Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities, it's really difficult, and that mix could be volatile and, to say, deadly. The second data point we saw were over 84, I think it was 84 or 85% of families who said, in a moment of behavioral concern and urgency, I would like for somebody to help me navigate the services that are available for us. The traditional method of here is a phone number, here is a flyer, doesn't work, because families could get on this 3-hour tour of phone calls only to find themselves back in where they started before. So it was really difficult for a lot of families to navigate. There are sometimes linguistic and cultural linguistic barriers that play. So we were using that data point to identify what is an additional layer of support for families. And the last data point was over 65% of families, or 65%, said, I would like to work with a culturally specific provider, somebody who understands what it feels to be my own child growing up in my community. And when we looked at services so that really showed us there was a service gap in the county. And we looked at a model that empowers parents to be the source of that, define the criteria for when a need is there and how do we support those needs. So, and then to highlight, this is a partnership between the county and the community providers. This is not delivered by a county staff. This is through the work that these three other amazing individuals who are on the call with us and who are going to panel our latter portion of the presentation are representing here this afternoon. This, who defines your crisis? Because if there is the clinical medical lens or medically driven, diagnostically driven approach, it is to say that you have to meet certain clinical or behavioral threshold for me to consider you needing a support. And there are factors that interplay, whether it's a culture, how culture informs crisis or urgency. There are times where somebody might identify a peak, a crisis, but then a family who has lived in a plateau of crisis are not meeting criteria, because in the medical sense is you have to peak a level, cross a threshold. And then there are times where the response is a family who's calling out for a need based on urgencies they identify are not getting the right response. So the responses that are given is through the person who is on the other side, who is determining, does your crisis meet their level of, a threshold. Settings where when the kids, especially kids, when, they're home, they could get away with much more than if they're at school. So even the settings kind of provide biases. We can look at the two individuals that have the same, and one person is said to be needing medical support, when the other one can be said, no, you can just go home. So there are so many things that really interplay. But how do you give that power back to the parent to say, if there are concerns and urgencies related to your child's behavior and you are unable to manage, that itself is the only definition we're going to need for us to support you. That completely shifts the idea of who defines. It is your own definition. You know your family much more than we would ever know. So we will trust when you call, we can give you the right response and support. And that shift is really reflective of this, tree, because so much time we focus more on the visible portion of the behavior. It has to manifest in a behavior. And then when the behavior is this severe, now it is a crisis. And then we would respond to that behavior. And then when the behavior is stabilized, we're going to disengage. That is the traditional sense of crisis response for a long time. With FRSS, this model, we're going to focus more on the invisible. What are some needs that are contributing to this change of function that the family is concerned about? And we're not just there to stabilize the behavior, we're there to understand the needs that are there that we can support so that symptoms gradually or will change. And it's not just you constantly have to have these symptoms in order for us to come out. So the focus is the needs and the strength of the family. I love this quote, and this kind of encapsulates the idea of how family response operates. Because beneath every behavior, feeling, and beneath each feeling is a need. And when we meet the need rather than focus on the behavior, we begin to deal with the cause and not just the symptoms. So with FRSS, that's, when I'm telling you all these, things that you're having positive reaction to, it is then how do you transform a system that has been a medical model for so long, and what tools are you using to be able to kind of make this transition? One is not really a new tool. System of care was developed in 1984 or 86, 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago. And the idea of it was to transform children's mental health from medically driven, diagnostically heavy, to more of youth driven and family guided and all these other values and principles that I'm going to mention. So to be true to our word, we are using 2023, just to kind of summarize, in 2023, Hennepin Board Commissioners endorsed using the system of care in Hennepin County to transform our children's mental health system. So that tells you it's not just me saying something. It's not somebody who's coming in and is one off. This is the vision and the goal of Hennepin County to be able to support those needs of families so that we can reduce out-of-home placement that disproportionately impact people of color, Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities, to be able to support families so that we can 911 calls that are being called for youth that is having a mental health urgency. And the other one is necessary ER visitations. So what is the system of care? These are the values. So youth and parent driven. When we say the parent defines the urgency or the behavior escalation or the need, it doesn't matter how small that is. If the parent picks up the call and calls FRSS and says, I'm concerned about something, we're going to come out in your home within an hour of the call so that we can sit down with you in your own home or in a community setting to understand your needs and engage with the youth to de-escalate the urgency or the behavior and to be able to connect to the family as a unit to resources that can support their needs. Are they culturally responsive? And it's not just culturally responsive that the county, this is to find community organizations, culturally specific providers who have the talent, who have the connection, who have the expertise to be able to deliver the services while we support them. Integrated, that's really the idea of system of care is not, I just don't want you to think it's just one service. It's not just the FRSS. It's the DNA of your system. Are your services set up in a way that they're integrated so that you don't feel or you don't make the family, and this is something I've heard, swimming from one island to another island because nobody knows the connection between these services or programs. A way to help navigate those services, the services have to be integrated. Again, data informed. The whole idea of why we started family response and stabilization was because of that pivotal data that we have. And trauma informed lens and trauma informed practices has to be central to this way we connect with families. And just to give you a little bit of, when we talk to families and the crisis assessment tool that we use, a simple tool, it's not diagnostic, there is some trauma focus. That's a trauma focused tool. And engage with the community. I know the providers here will tell you the last year we have had over 90 engagement events, tabling events, community places where they're going so that they can make the connections with community to tell them if there are urgencies or any concerns related to your child. This is the number you call. This is who is coming out to work with you. Now I want to transition to the service itself. Family Response and Stabilization is a program that has two components. The first component is the response phase. It is when a parent and caregiver identifies a behavioral concern and they call this number, we would respond to them within an hour of that call. There are times when families say, I'm at work, there is a concern that was relayed to me by the school. I'll be able to come home until 5 p.m., but they're calling us at 10 a.m. Yes, you can schedule something to your preferred time. But if a parent calls and said, I want to have somebody now, we want to be able to support them within that 1 hour. We provide the escalation, stabilization of immediate concern, those assessment. We have a crisis assessment tool. We're looking at different domains that might give us a little bit of more understanding of where your concerns are coming from. It's not to diagnose somebody, and we stay with the family work with the family for up to 72 hours. There are times when the responders might go out, work with the family for up to 2 to 3 hours, and then say, you know what, would it be, okay if we come back tomorrow to continue the work? There are times when families would say, you know what, that was good. Let me call you tomorrow if there is additional concern, and then you can come on. Other times the family is like, yep, can you please come back tomorrow at 7 a.m. because my child has had issue with, school preparation, getting up. That's the time where I need support. Can you guys come back tomorrow? Up to 72 hours, we work with the family. Birth to 18 years old. Any resident in Hennepin County, the only criteria is there is a child between birth and 18. The concern is about and the family, and then the youth resides and is a Hennepin County resident. That's it. And families call, we respond. The second phase is when in that 72 hours, if there's a family that has additional needs beyond the 72 hours, we have culturally specific family stabilization support that's up to 8 weeks. And the providers will tell you a little bit of those stories. I don't want to just take that here. And it is to skill development, stabilize the family as a unit, as a function, and connect them to resources in the community. There is so much time that's spent on building relationship with in order to prepare sometimes for families for long-term support and services. So that service navigation is really critical here. Again, we have mental health, multicultural, diverse team with lived experience, the service as a model. We have mental health professionals, program managers, team leads, family responders, community care coordinators, parent peer support specialists. And again, I want to give back to the providers who are going to give a lot more detail and information of how they operate. But again, youth and family concern, we have community, how do we connect our approaches? Make sure there is a crime reduction effort, extracurricular involvement. What are some community centers that youth and family can benefit from? Are there any cultural needs? Connecting to resources, traditional teaching and support, and is there any clinical needs? And those conversations don't just happen when somebody, they happen because there is cultural congruency. The person who is talking to you and you feel there is this connection, and that helps, I think, with FRS as being a different level and layer of support for families. Traditional crisis agencies, often their demographic is usually between the age of 12 to 16-year-old white female. And the way this service operated, or the data we see, our average demographic for FRS is age 14, Black or African American youth. So we know there was a gap that already existed because we're feeling relationship we build and the trust we bring in community, especially as the providers will tell you a lot more, makes the connection that families see this is a service by community for community. And then the multicultural providers, yes, they might be from different agencies, as you can see here, but we're a community of practice. We're there for each other. We're there for the community. If there are calls that come to Nexus, which is the response, they're making connection and also supporting family to transition to those culturally specific stabilization providers. FRSs, I've already touched this a little bit. Family defines the crisis. When other crisis modes or models are, there's an acuity of behavior. There's a mental health component that has to reach this critical clinical need. And then it's an adult design focused that is somehow expanded to include kids. When FRSS is family defines the urgency, multiple modalities of healing, as I mentioned, community, clinical, and cultural, and also it's a holistic, family-focused approach. We've had over 1,600 calls that came to FRSS since the beginning of the services. The first year, we kept it really small, the connection points, because we only had, I would say the first year, 2 people that were doing response, and we didn't want to overwhelm. But just to give you a little bit of how much volume we're seeing, we've had 800 calls in 2024 and continue to see exponential growth in the volume of families who are calling. The majority of calls we get now, parent and caregiver. Oftentimes, the top 3 reasons are familial conflict, aggression, oppositional behavior. How do you look at familial conflict through only a clinical lens? There's so much layered, complexities to that, so that when we go there, we don't judge. We're there to learn. We're there to support. We're there to teach. We're there to partner with families. And that has been a little bit of what we see, and I'll transition to the community providers, is we see families who come to family response and stabilization, have had the connection with somebody from that team, and then after 8 weeks, families would go, I've seen a change in my child's need and his function. Can we get another 8 weeks? And oftentimes it's just that of how much of families, or they're sharing with us some of their improvement. 50% of families, parents said, well, when they finished stabilization, they saw a reduction of symptoms in their child. About almost 70% of families said they were, they were hopeful that the family, the resources, and the support they got helped them stabilize their child's mental health and well-being. Just the perception of. And stabilization, explore support with family, connect family with resources, address barriers in accessing mental health supports. Oftentimes, I like to say this is a bridging, this is sequencing. There are times when families are here and the connections they make with the culturally specific provider allows for time and education for even families to consider long-term support and services. There were a consultation I once had with a school psychologist who said, we've made a referral for this youth for mental health services, and the family refused all this time. And we continue to see an escalation of their need in the school setting. When we connected with the caregiver said, I don't know what diagnostic assessment is. I don't know what it means, what it provides. And I'm also afraid if my child gets diagnosed, he will never go to college, get a driver license, get a job, all these fears. So in this stabilization, it's more of learning with the family, connecting family to resources, and explore supports with families. So that if there is an additional need, that conversation is happening with somebody that they trust, rather than feeling thrown into the clinical realm without having that understanding. We partner with the schools. The top three referral sources, as I mentioned, one is the parent caregiver. We continue to see hospitals when families, compared to the first year, 80% of our referrals were coming from a hospital in the first year. But we didn't want to stay there. We're partnering with the schools. We're partnering with parent organizations, child protection. If they get a referral from a hospital that says, hey, there's a youth and family, the family doesn't want to take the kid home, there's a referral that was made to child protection. They're telling the hospital, did you try FRSS before you make a referral? If they say no, then they're educating the hospital about FRSS as a source before they make anything, so that we can make sure that we're all aligned in giving the families the support they need, and holding the hospital, I don't want to say accountable to the resources that are available to them and parent organizations. This is the last one. I want to just give you a little bit of what we have heard from families, the qualitative data. The first one, family response, was fantastic and gave us the support needed to de-escalate and problem solve to prevent an ED visit. And then the second, I can't find words to thank and appreciate family response and support. I appreciate the ability to have someone come to the house in a quick time frame to help with our situation. And then there's a follow-up, an action plan, and that was put, and we share that with the family. And then the last one, the service navigation. We needed to help us navigate a difficult day. I can't say enough of how much he helped us diffuse our situation and connect with their 17-year-old son. That is just the beginning to kind of set the stage for amazing panel members who are going to talk about their experience in delivering the service. I'm not proximal to the service delivery. I hear the stories from these amazing individuals, and I want to continue to be a champion for family response and stabilization services, but these are the superstars that we have here today. So you guys are in for a treat. I would like to transition back to Laura, and we have our panel members here this afternoon. How do I let me stop sharing.
Assad, do you want to just tee them up for the panel? And then we'll just go into that, and then I think Brandon's going to lead us through the discussion.
Yes. So I want to introduce the three panel members, and my hope is that you tell, oftentimes what we miss is the stories from families. We are focused on data, quantitative data. I just wanted to hear from your experience as, in your program, what are some ways you're supporting families? How are you seeing the value of the system of care in delivering this service to families in our community? So I know, Tamika, you have the unique experience of being on the response when families are coming in. If you can walk us through that process for our partners here this afternoon.
Of course. That was a loaded yes, a lot of questions. So I'm gonna just go with what I remember, which is none of it. I'm just kidding. How it goes for me on the response side, because I actually started off as a responder, and then I'm growing up the line, hopefully to be Assad in the near future. But what is how I feel the service goes and why I choose to be here, which is my third year, is because the reaction we get. We go into all type of homes. It could be a kid not wanting to go to bed. It's a kid that's not wanting to go to school. It's a kid not getting along with the sibling or the parents or a neighbor. Like, we get all kind of response calls, and we show up for everyone. My favorite part is that I get to show up and be myself. My camera's not working, so I can't turn it on, but I am Black. So I get to show up and be authentically Black, and they are so excited to see that, especially the families that are Black or of color and have never seen someone like me that shows up. I don't change who I am. I come in, I'm me, and I'm supporting them. It's receptive, it's wanted, it's needed, and they call back. I feel like a lot of the families, they're hesitant when they call us because they think we're CPS. So I always make sure it's like that's one of the first parts of the conversation I have. I can't speak for other responders or what they do, but when I'm training new staff is to make sure they are comfortable. Even though they're calling, that's just the first step. That's a big step, but that's not the only step. And getting them to understand that this is a service you can use as many times as you need. So I briefly touched base on it. It's like for the 72 hours, they can call us back to back. We can go, we can leave, we can come back. We can stay for 7 hours and leave for an hour. You can call back and we come back. We will show up every time within that hour, as long as weather permits. You know, we live in Minnesota, it gets icy, it gets snowy, so we got to be safe. And we always communicate that if we are not going to make it that within an hour, the family knows. Sometimes, one time, there was a pretty intense situation with a young lady dealing with some suicidal ideation. I just hooked it up to my car phone because that's what that young lady needed. And by the time I got there, we had a pretty good rapport at that point. And we sat down and we made it through the safety plan. She was able to make it through the rest of her night and the 72 hours without needing any more support. That is just to show you that our service is flexible. What we do is not like everybody else. And whatever they need, we try to give as long as it's within us obviously being safe. Yes, we have had quite a few calls with substance use. They vary. I'll speak on the one that I worked with. It was right around the time we became 24 hours, and I got the call at like 11:30, which is right when we started our 24 hours because we were up to 11. Called at 11:30. The mom had never called us before, super uncomfortable. She was like, "Do you know what you're doing? What do you know about substance use?" And I'm a pretty honest person. It has nothing to do with the job. It's just me as a person. And I told her, I don't have that much experience, but I know that I can support you if you allow me. She wasn't ready for an in-person response. And that is our job. We're to be in person, but this was new to her. Her son was having withdrawal symptoms. It was so much going on. So what we did is we went through it. What is he doing right now? Where is he right now? Is he cold? Is he telling you he's cold? Because I can hear him in the background screaming, but I understand what he was saying. He was cold. All right, let's get him a blanket. And this had me go. We sat on the phone, I want to say, on and off for like an hour or two. And finally, he went to sleep. And she was fine. The next morning at 7 a.m., because I was working a double, I called her again because I'm still on the shift. Hey, I know we just touched base a few hours ago. Would you like me to come out now that the sun is out? What would you like to be done? For this situation, she just really wanted her son to go to the hospital. He did not want to go to the hospital. That's not what he wanted. He had already been off the drugs. If I remember correctly, he was on like day 8. So she was like, "Do you think it's safe to stay here?" I told her I could tell you that I think you should call the nurse line, let them know what's going on, because she was supposed to call him the night before. But again, overwhelmed with calling a million people, already been talking to me, so we just worked through it. She did end up calling. The hospital said he should be fine, keep him from school, that type of stuff. I reached back out later on the day before I signed off. She was good. He was a lot better. He had eaten. He was still angry. He's coming down from hard drugs. It's expected. She never had to call again, but I'm sure that if she needed to, she would have. What else? Okay, I'll tell you guys about the parent side, because that was like the parent side of dealing with the situation. But the service is so unique and amazing to me, is because we're youth based. Yes, our thing is you got to have a kid, 0 to 18 for us to come. But we don't just come. It's like, forget the parent. We're not here to help you. A lot of the time, it's like the parent needs the support. They need to be heard. They need to be validated. They need support. They need resources. So a lot of my time when I go out, if and when possible, I like to highlight the parent. This is hard, dealing with a kid with autism, dealing with a kid with these huge behaviors, dealing with a kid that does not respect you in your home and you pay all of the bills. Let's talk about that. How can we get you through the next 72 hours? Wow, I'm still working with the youth. Like this, we're working on what they need. They need to go to therapy, so I'm getting them connected. Here's the bio. Here's what this therapist looks like. But at the same time, the parent, do you have a therapist? Would you like for us to look into getting you a therapist? While there's not a million parent peer supports, I do wish there were more. So if you guys got anything you want to tell me about, please let me know. But it's just giving them that time. And that, surprisingly, is my favorite part of being a responder, which is off-putting because I actually prefer working with kids. But now, as I've been here for 3 years, my favorite part is being able to give the parents some time to breathe, to swear. They swear a lot. Just let it out. Let it be. I'd rather you swear with me than go back and take that energy to the kid, because we'll get nowhere. You'll continue to have to call, because this is now a traumatic cycle of abuse at that point. But we don't need to get to that deep. Oh, I was just reading the comments. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know. Should I
No,
keep going?
that is
All right, because I can keep going aside. Don't
no,
get me going.
that's so profound and beautiful, and and I've heard this, Tamika, you talk about your experience with, and I get goosebumps every single time because it is a family that might not really have an alternative. So I just wanted to kind of say that out again, because you make the impact every single day and every single call. So thank you for that. And then, as Tamika shared with us, in that 72 hours, yes, it might seem short. For some families, we offer them, and the families we offer, I think 90% of the families we offer stabilization jump on that opportunity to work with amazing individuals like Corey and Samir's team. So Corey, I know you've joined the program FRSS. You were on another side of changing, but I'm sure you've heard multiple stories of the difference that you're making and your team. Just wanted to kind of see if you can highlight or share some of the experiences of working with the families.
Yes. I first want to say, Tamika, that was you ran I don't even really have to say nothing, but that you hit it. You just ran it, and that was 100% on point. I appreciate you. I need to say that. But after Tamika and the responders get through with the 72 hours, then we're going into 8 weeks. And it's a lot of exactly what Tamika is saying. My team is it ain't me. I won't say that right off the back. I'm just the overseer, somebody they can see and report back to Assad our problems, our situations. I work with Cheryl, Assad, and the evaluation team, Tamika, all of that. We all meet and we discuss things every week to iron out the kinks, to make sure that this is a smooth running program. And then that 8 weeks goes in, and the team is remarkable. They going, and it's not just Black families we're seeing. We've also have white families that we see, and it still doesn't change anything. We're going into the home. The most sought out individual in the program is the Black male. They always asking for a Black male to come into their home, and I only have one Black male that works for us, and he's stretched out. He will probably have 15 cases. Anywhere from 10 to 15 cases at any given time, and then I have to let the responders know that he's not available. It's just that heavy, and we do heavy supportive work in the community. The young man that I'm talking about, he's even brought a family couches and turkeys for Thanksgiving. He brings them a couch. He went and found a couch for a family. He's doing a lot, like above and beyond, and as far as the resources, we try to spend a lot of time with finding resources, finding a LADC for that family that's on substance abuse, finding the right therapist, talking to the Kente Circle, to the Menkaras, the individuals that help with therapeutic services for African American youth. We spend a lot of time trying to make sure that the families is heard, and not just the child, but also, like Tamika said, the parent, because when the parent makes a call, it does be a lot of things going on, a lot of chaos. And so we'll spend that 8 weeks, and then it'll be an additional, like Assad said, when we're building that relationship with that family, and the 8 weeks is counting down, they'll make that call, and like Tamika said, they'll come back out. And then one responder said, "I'm going to walk this family to the second 8 weeks." So now they're doing 16 weeks. I'm gonna hand walk the family through to that. So it's that connection, not letting go of the family, staying on top, being supportive, being on, especially like during the time now with all of the stuff that's going on with the president, that has families heightened. Spanish-speaking families heightened, and we're going into their homes trying to help them navigate these situations as well.
Thank you, Corey. And I think, the story you shared of Andre, that was his day off. That
Yeah.
he went out, drove a couple hours to pick up a sofa on his truck so he could deliver to the family because they needed that sofa, and has done many other times these small acts to but have a profound impact on that youth and the family on his day off. So I just can't thank enough the team and how much they value their connection, not just from the family perspective, but also the team. This is their mission, this the value that they bring to our community as a whole. I don't think I've done some previous work, but as Corey said, we meet once a week, and this team, I learned so much from them and their empathy and impact that they have on a daily basis. I just want to say thank you, Corey, as well. And Samira, I know you have been with the program from the Genesis beginning. I want to also hear more of the stories, the amazing stories and connections you are also making with the community.
So I do similar thing with Corey's team. We are the stabilizer. We are the 8 weeks. My team is specifically Somali and anyone who comes in, but I have team of Somali and Hmong providers. I'll say through my team, mostly is connecting with resources. We have those 8 weeks. We get the referral from Tamika's team. And then from there, we make sure we meet with the time that works with the family. And then after we meet the time that works with the family in their home, then at the beginning, we'll have a plan for the next 8 weeks, who's doing what and what is needed. Again, we can also, if the family needs to come back, we're able to do that. I'll say personally for our own agency is mental health, right? Providing mental health awareness in our community, specifically Somali communities. And then also we do have referrals for some therapists who are Somali. So we have done family therapy with families because it's harder to get someone who understands the culture, who's also a provider, which is Somali. So we do have opportunity of connecting families with that. So a lot of mental health awareness and then connecting family, because a lot of our youth that are coming in, it's mostly family issues that are coming in with, and then be able to do not only just breaking the barrier of bringing therapy or talking about family dynamics, but also introducing to a therapist who's also from that community. That has been helpful as well.
And oftentimes it's just that connection and sitting down and understanding from the parent concern. I know Samira and this whole team supports all of Hennepin County residents with a specific focus on being cultural communities. As I mentioned, Corey and his team support African American, and then there's the Latino community as well. Samira supports, her team supports Somali and Hmong. But again, any Hennepin County resident who calls, we have data, a robust data, both quantitative and qualitative data we gather. And oftentimes it's the stories of families who say, yes, it was meaningful connection, and is there any way you can extend? And those are the stories of, yes, they're seeing improvements and are telling us both in the quantitative, yet the relationship they built with the provider is not replicable in any other space, or is difficult to replicate. So they continue to seek that support. And it's something that we're kind of trying to understand how to continue building capacity. I think right now we have a 24/7 service in the response phase that we, I think, transitioned to in December of this 2024. And we continue to expect about 2,000 calls a year, if not more. So again, these are the superstars, these are the heroes, these are the champions. I get to just work with them and just say I know them. So I would like to also open the floor for any questions. I know, Fatima, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I do have to jump off, so thank you for calling on me. I first wanted to say thank you to all of you. Really appreciate the amazing work that you do and have been doing in the community. Many of the families that I've referred to FRSS, those that have communicated, shared their experience with me, have informed me that they have only had a good response, and they, to your point, Asad, about looking how to continue, is one of the reasons why we have our system of care community partners. So looking at the Latino Youth Development Collaboration, Little Earth, and as well as Black Family Blueprint and SPAN and Rebound, ensuring that our community partners that are all culturally specific and work within the demographics that are most underrepresented and highly served through FRSS, which they all are here. So to ensure that we are creating that process seamlessly so that families that have gone through the stabilization and looking for continued service, what I've heard directly from parents and caregivers is that they're looking for support. There's for them. And so not just for their child. So that whole family, holistic support is essential. And I believe that our partners that are here today, and as well as others that are within the network of the collaborative and the system of care, can support. So let's ensure that we're being intentional about leveraging those partnerships.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. And thank you for calling out the system of that transformative approach or framework is something the county is really invested and interested in. And I know Mark is here with me from CMH on some, not just in a philosophical way of just we're trying to transform, some practical, pragmatic way. One is in 2024, we customized child adolescent needs and strength tool, which is a tool that we are envisioning in having all child servant systems. So when a family and youth show up, their needs and strength, resources and supports, meaningful but is to transform the DNA of our whole system so that any family system gets to have their story the same way we talk. And I again, what I appreciate about this, you have not heard one to say clients or patients. These are youth and families. And when we treat them as such, we're going to focus more on their needs rather than on clinical, pathologizing needs in a way that's not supportive to their needs. So Mahdi, you have your hand up, and then Mark, if you want to chime into of the experience, and the commitment we have at the county. Mahdi?
Yeah, thank you, Asad, and thank you to the whole team. I have a comment and a question, follow-up question. One of the reasons we partner with this team and Fatuma first approached us at the beginning is that we need a resource for our parents from the county when it comes to the issue of child mental health and mental health period. One of the issues that sometimes we encounter with is parents that are really live in very stressful situation. Especially the mothers, they have a very aggressive, strong, maybe adult child with autism, or maybe a teenager, mostly boys with autism, nonverbal, with intellectual disability, and very aggressive. So the caregivers, and they, on top of that, they have more children. They may have 5 other children, 6 other children. So they live in a very stressful situation. So I spoke with Fatuma about this previously. We need, I didn't know the Samira esteem existed. So we need a resource where we can refer to these parents, people who are a program that's culturally appropriate, linguistically appropriate, So I think the good start will be to know the direct line to Samir Esteen. And we also, that's the need. A question I have to family, we meet 1 month as it's a Zoom. So some of the subjects to be about mental health. So can we get a speakers, Somali speaking speakers from you to this monthly whatever. It's not it's not going to be a mental health in every month, but some months or some of the sessions we would like to be mental health. So we need a speaker. Can we get one? That's the question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mahdi, for the question. Yes, the first one of families that are struggling with, kids that have complex needs, FRSS will come out within that hour if a call comes in the response phase. If there is a youth that is already connected to, let's say a youth with autism connected with community resources and support, we would like to understand how to strengthen those, then to restart and duplicate those efforts in stabilization. But those immediate supports would always be available to them. The second one, we're very much interested and invested in making those connections where the community conversation is already happening.
In my heart. So I just want to say this is so amazing and progress, because I remember almost going to school plus directly within school buildings, integrating it into existing therapy and services. How can this be done to collaborate with clinicians? Because I feel what you're doing is amazing. Tamika, Corey, just their stories gave me chills, and I'm like, oh my God, where have these people been? And so I think the relationships they have is phenomenal. And I almost feel like if I had a magic wand, you guys would have a office in schools. Like, you guys really need to be in buildings every day. And I know Tamika and Corey, y'all probably like, don't give us more work, but I think this would be phenomenal. So if you can just answer those things that I just said.
Yes.
Ms. Washington, I got okay. So in schools, so we try to make referrals. We try to hook families up with ongoing supports. So behind the scenes, my team is looking at different referrals in the community. One of the referrals in the community is Change Inc., the organization that we work for. But we try not to put all of that back on us. But we have in school school-based mentors that go into the schools, that are in the schools and it's certain type of schools, certain different schools that we're into. So we would have to talk about that in depth. And then also the other part, what was the other piece? Yeah, I know you said this.
Well, wait, Mr. Corey, I know about school-based. I know that very well. I'm talking about how can you guys collaborate with them on a deeper level? Because I feel they can learn some things on building relationships, being there for Black families and Latino families. That's what I mean. Trust me, I know what's in buildings.
For us to collaborate on a different level, on a deeper level,
that's what I mean.
We would have to do what Assad is doing with all of us, is bringing them to the table.
Yep. And then how do you guys support families who have children with chronic absentees? Because some parents have kids who don't want to go to school on top of the behaviors. So, and that's something that I've been wondering about, because I know families who are struggling with kids going to school, and then they're dealing with child protection and all of that.
One piece we got is we're working with Hennepin County. Change Inc. is working with Hennepin County on an academic credit recovery program that deals directly with that. And I can get you a flyer to that.
And also, Ms. Washington, thank you for those amazing questions. School is a program that the county uses, and then kids who have been absentee or have had a court referral, when they are, referred to be at school, we partner with them so that they can transition the family and have this FRSS support. The second layer of that question is, how do we partner with the school so that doesn't happen, that there is no referral that gets made to a court, then the court now is making the referral to be at school? I can just think of back my experience in Ohio, supporting a similar effort. We've had kids that have had chronic absenteeism, and when we connect with families, oftentimes maybe there's academic challenges that are going on. Maybe there's a family need, caregiver resources in the home that's missing. There are times when the youth is dealing with other challenges, whether it is learning disabilities, needing additional support. And when we sit down with the parent and caregiver and say, how do we work with you and work with the school to figure out how to support your child and youth, oftentimes that has been fruitful. So for us, it's not to say FRSs will come and we're just gonna stabilize the behavior or tell the kid just, hey, why are you here? Go to school. It is to say what might be the root cause of. Are there maybe some things that the family needs, the caregiver needs? Is there things that the youth is struggling? Are there the resources that are accessible in this school? The other one of how do we broaden the message that it is available in every single school, that resources, and when there is an identification of a behavioral concern, right? Because there is a pattern that develops over time and leads to these things. Can you partner with the parents and say, hey, here's a phone number. Here you can call, they will come to you within an hour and address some of the concerns that we have or shared with you. That partnership has to be solid and it has to be consistent. And that's when I work with Mark and the school, based mental health to make sure that FRSS is also an integral part of a school-based mental health and that families have access to these resources, not at the tail end of the crisis, but this is a support that I know I was really excited to hear one of my colleagues. And she said, hey, Asad, do you know in the summer, the kids' backpack had FRSS flyer. And I was just like, that's amazing. Schools not only were partnering with families during the kids' stay in the school, they were also mindful of that there might be concerns that come up in the summer that the parents could have these resources available too. That work still continues. I would say it's not fully finished, but we do see a large number of calls that are still generating from a school partnership that we have. My hope and goal is every single school in Hennepin County has these not just posted on the wall, but practitioners that are working with families and youth to say, here is something, here's a service and support for you. You can call. It's not the school is making a referral. It's the school is partnering with families to put these in their resource list when the families are needing that. I hope I answered your question because I feel like I talked for 10 minutes, and if you didn't answer your questions, I do question what I just said.
And I just want to build off of what Asad just said, because you said everything I was going to say. But on the side where we're going directly into the homes is we also go into the schools. Like there's been quite a few times where the kid doesn't want to go to school. It's okay, we'll get them on the bus and I'll meet them at school. And as long as the school allows us to stay, that is a crisis. So I get to stay. And if the kid is doing well, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go because I'm very distracted because I'm large. So the kids are like, that's your bodyguard. And why is this person following you around to the classes? But who's a bodyguard at school? They do not. So we use all kind of methods to get through. If the parent can be present, we can come to the house at 7:30 and be at the bus stop. We can be at home at 3:30 waiting with the parents at the bus stop. The way the service is, it's like, it is really what you need. And as long as you're willing to have us, we will stay. But we sometimes have to remind them, like, all right, I feel like we're being invasive. We need to go. We've been here for 5 hours. You sure you want us to stay? You want us to go? You want us to come back? Like, it is very, very, just everything Asad said, but just add that the school doesn't have to be the one to call, but they could. If the school calls and like, hey, they're not showing up to school, that's when we call the parents. We walk them through what we can do. And it's hard on the phone to tell everything that we can do because as of right now, we don't really have limits. Like we are a very flexible, adaptive to your family. What your family needs, we will give. And that's just for the 72 hours. I don't know what Corey and Samira are doing over at their respective agencies, but I'm sure it's not too far off from having to meet at the school. But also, that is one of the places where I have the best interactions with the youth is when I'm able to book one of those conference rooms and spend an hour, maybe 2, could be 3. Just tell me your side. What is going on at home where we couldn't have this at home kind of situation? Or why don't you want to be here at school? Let's walk to the gym. Is the teacher being a little rough? We can, as long as I get a ROI, I can have interactions with the teacher like, hey, what's going on? Put the parent in the loop. We've gone to IEP meetings, whatever you need, and the families that you guys are working with, whatever they need, bring it to us. Let us figure out how we can support them, because there's a way. There's always a way that we can jump in to support them, even if it's just when we show up to the meeting. Sometimes professionals, they don't really respect parents sometimes, and that's what we come in. It's like, no, they might not know what you're talking about, but I do. And here's why we're still here. And this is why the parent is going to continue to reach out to us as support is needed, and use that 72 hours as many times until we can get whatever the root of the issue, because it's not always just a behavior thing. I think one of the most important things that a lot of times when kids are struggling in school, something's not registering. Something's not hidden half the time now. So it's like, it's so great. I just love it. I can see I get excited. So we have issues with the hospitals, families we have every time.
Thank you, Tamika. Were there other questions? I'm not looking at the chat as well.
Yeah. Your one of the questions is a thorn in your side. Aside, how does FRS and COPE differ?
Wait, I responded. Did you guys hear? No. I was not. We see COPE has of course, every family who calls get the response, the right response. In 2023, historically, COPE had child crisis line and adult crisis line. Their child crisis line and an adult crisis line, they consolidated into one, but they were still getting residual calls in the child crisis line. So in 2023, December of 2023, we rerouted that line to FRSS. So anytime that line gets a call, FRSS staff, Tamika and her team, are picking up those calls to support families. But that's not still the end of the story of COPE and FRSS. We're still trying to figure out what are some coordinating mechanisms in place so that families, this is not an indictment, I'm not saying anything, but I think what we are, it's on us to say to families, whether you call COPE or FRSS, you're going to have an in-person, in the home support. My hope and goal, if this is the way I envision, and this is to have a single point of access for all child crisis line, and that would be through FRSS. So COPE can transition to more supporting adult population. Are we there now? I don't think we are. So COPE can still support, is still supporting children and adults, while FRSS is focused on children and families. But that's just the future goal. We have already started that, as I mentioned, in rerouting the child crisis line to FRSS, and continue to kind of look at volume and also look at how they're supporting and how FRSS is supporting, to kind of have a lot more understanding of how do we create a single point of access in a future tense. So Mark, you want to jump in and rescue me for a minute? No, go.
Yeah, no,
I want
you're
you
good,
to
dude.
go.
You're doing great. Hey, again, like I think earlier on you asked me, but I think what I want to talk about is like Hennepin County's commitment to system of care and what that means, for our community, and the invitation to be a part of this. System of care, like Assad said, is a set of services, but more importantly, it's a set of values that centers youth and families, that they get to make a choice. And I think that's what's amazing about FRSS, is families get to decide what a crisis is, when they need support, and come in at whatever point makes sense for them. And as we heard from other people that are doing the work, like there's a lot of education, there's a lot of opportunities to partner with families and youth when they're needing some mental health support. So I think but it means that we have to do work differently. And that can be hard because we've got these systems that have been built for decades that are in one way. And I think that's the invitation is like, how do we continue to take these system of care values and really infuse them into how we continue to grow the work and how all these different organizations think about their work and how do we do that and what are there's going to be pain points, and I just hope that this is a space where we can talk about that. But to really do system of care well, it's going to take some change of how we currently do things. And I don't mean like you all. I mean in the big sense. So
No, I appreciate
sorry,
that,
I'll
Mark.
I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I appreciate that. And as I said, we want to make sure that families, when they call, we're building some, coordinating mechanisms so that if a COPE gets a call that for whatever reason they're not able to respond to, then they coordinate with FRSS so that FRSS can go out and support that youth and family, and vice versa. I don't at this moment we don't have any issue with capacity and not meeting families. But let's say for what maybe one day if something happens, do we have some mechanisms in place to be able to say FRSS is a single point of access for children? That is the hope. But I just want to say the current practice is that COPE can see adults and children. And if there is a mechanism, if there is capacity issue that they're not able to respond to, they're working with FRSS to be able to support, to send a FRSS person to go out and support the youth. But this is also, a time where we are all trying to understand how to infuse the system of care strategies and framework. So there's a space for learning and growing and figuring out how to best streamline our services. Mark, you have your hand up.
He never put it down.
Oh, you never put it. He's like, raise the roof. No, he's not doing it with two hands though.
Right.
All right, Mark.
I gotta hop off. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Mr. Assad, I have a quick question and a comment. So I sit on Child Crisis. We've been in meetings together. I've been on there for over 13 years. So and I want to say whoever asked the question, how is it different? I'm gonna say as a consumer of Child Crisis, they're very different. I will probably refer parents to Assad's group of people because it's totally different. It's more authentic and it's really relationship based. So that is a big difference. So Assad, you said that the calls from Child Crisis is routed to you guys. I wonder how is that being advertised? So do we have time for you to show us what your website look like? And I asked that, and Beth is on Child Crisis with me too. We're working on our website and the Just Call, and we don't have that language telling parents if you can't get Child Crisis, you're going to be routed somewhere else. And that's very important because as a parent who may be shy of using these services, you got to be upfront. So is that language, and I'm going to actually bring this to the Child Crisis leadership team, that language has to be consistent. So are you telling families that? Because I remember back in the day, you call Child Crisis after hours, Child Protection pickup. That ain't a good thing. When we went over this over and over to where they changed it and they changed their script because of me. Because I said you can't be false flagging. So can you answer that? Because I need to make sure
the Child Crisis line for 24/7, it goes to FRSS.
Okay, they gotta put that on the website.
Yes, FRSS is picking those calls. And just to also give you some of the practice, when a hospital there's a youth and family that now the family is unwilling to take the youth home because they don't meet criteria for admission through the hospital's, criteria, they're making the referral to, when a call comes to Child Protection, they're saying, have you tried FRSS? If they have, then they want to know, like, is this, if the family decline FRSS? If they have not, then they're holding them to say, we're not going to take a Child Protection referral until you call FRSS. So yes, FRSS, the Child Crisis line, if anybody calls, it's not going to Child Protection, it's coming to FRSS, Tamika and her team.
Okay, I
Did
love,
that answer?
yeah, I love my parents. I just want to make sure it's on the website. I don't like parents to be surprised. And Brandon, do he have time to show us what his website look like in the language for parents, or no? Maybe next
We
time.
have 3 minutes, so if we can pull it up.
I want to see if there are other questions, but I'll be more than happy to come back again if you guys would have me and this team. But I just wanted to see, I know we have a few more minutes before we jump off. If you guys had any additional questions, any comments.
Yes, I got one question because it was a word drop that I didn't understand. False flagging. Miss Washington, could you explain to us what false flagging means?
Well, you ain't really being truthful. And I say, so I was a young mom. I had my first baby at 16, and I'm still young. I'm only 45. I know y'all thought I was 21, but first baby at 16, been dealing with the system since I was 16. I got twins and another daughter and another baby, right? So I've been navigating this for years. I'm very true to this, right? And so as a mom who got to use these services, I need to know what I'm getting into. And so if it's not out there in black and white, you're kind of false flagging. You're not really being honest. And so we're working on the website with y'all, Crisis on the campaign, Just Call. And so it should say something like, if we're not available, your call might be routed to this wonderful service, because I think the service is amazing. That's all I'm saying. Because I love the work that SI does. I'm his biggest cheerleader. I got y'all's flyers in my bag. I pass them out everywhere. And might take some to the nail shop next week. I boop, 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 call.
Thank you.
I think it's also, just to let everybody else know, the collaborative has been really promoting family response and stabilization services, and thinks that this is, what we've heard from families across the board for years is having a one place to send families is critically important. So our website encourages people to go through FRSS, and I know that Hope will continue to function. We don't think that that's wrong. We think it's easier for families if they have one place to go. But if I can say this on behalf of the parents that we've worked with, to your point exactly, Ms. Washington, is it's okay for families to say that too, to all the other county places that they're working with, that it's confusing, that it's not always helpful to have all these different places to show up. And sometimes having those of us who don't work with the county say those things out loud can be really helpful. I don't know if I'm getting anyone into trouble, but I just think the more we can consistently message around that, the better. So go ahead and say that in your spaces too. I can say that, others on this call maybe can't. So thank you for bringing that up. And really, Molly, thank you for asking that question, because it continues to be a challenge for families who are trying to get their needs met. Well, I see we're at time. Brandon, do you want to close this out and thank our speakers? Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll close us out really quickly. I thank Tamika, Samira, Corey, and Assad for coming on and sharing information with us. This is what these meetings are all about, is getting connected, being informed, and continuing to support one another as much as possible. So thank you all for today. We'll see everybody again soon. Take care of yourselves, stay warm, and we'll follow up via email with more information.